Hey everyone, Scoop Phase is back. We have the next Scoop build here is Marincess, or as I like to call it, Bubbles. With just a bunch of water cyber stuff, and they just kind of do one thing. They sit on a big monster that's hopefully unaffected by stuff, and then if they out it, you just do it again, over and over again. It's kind of like Salamangreat in that way, that you can just kind of keep doing the same combo over and over again. So yeah, this is the deck. This stuff down here in the side deck is stuff you could potentially use. I'll go over the Marincess stuff first, I guess. So we have Blue Tang. So if this thing's normal or special, you get to send a Marincess monster from your deck to your graveyard. So that's pretty good. And then if it's sent to graveyard for the material of a link summon of a water monster, you get to excavate the top three cards of your deck, and then you add one excavated Marincess card from your hand, and then you shuffle the rest back into the deck. So this is probably the best card you can normal summon. It's part of the ideal like one card combo stuff. And yeah, you've got that. We have Marincess Pascalis. I think that's how you say that. I don't know. It's basically just if you normal summon it, you get to special summon a Marincess from your hand in defense, which is nice. It's a nice extender that actually is a Marincess name. And then you can banish it from your graveyard, except the turn it was sent there, to target one of your spell and traps and add it back to your hand. So it lets you recycle your spells and traps, which granted, there's not many good ones, but one of them's really good, so if you get to recycle that, that's nice. And then the other Marincess monster we have here is Marincess Seahorse. This used to be like the best normal summon before Blue Tang came out. So its effect is you can special summon this card from your hand to a zone the Marincess Link monster points to. And you can only do that once. And then during your main phase, except the turn it was sent to grave, you can banish it and then summon a water monster from your hand to a zone the Marincess Link monster points to. So this Seahorse and Blue Tang are probably the two most important cards in the main deck at least. So we'll get to that when we go over the combo later. And then the last Marincess monster in the main deck is Mandarin. It's just a little level 1. If you control 2 or more Marincess monsters while it's in your hand or graveyards, that's nice. You can target one Water Link monster you control, and then you special summon this card to a zone that monster points to, and then it gets banished if it leaves the field. So this is just a really good extender, and it's not very hard to get 2 Marincesses on field and to have a link zone for this to go to. And then the Marincess spells and traps, as mentioned earlier with this thing. So we have the field spell Battle Ocean. We actually have a link monster that searches this. So that's why we're only playing one. And if we really needed to recover it, we can get it back with Pasculus, and I think there's another card that can get it back. Just generically, all your Marincess gain 200 attack. Cool. And then they also gain 600 attack for each Marincess card that is equipped to them. So that comes up later in the effect. And then monsters you control in the extra monster zone that were link summoned using Marincess Crystal Heart as material are unaffected by your opponent's card effects. So that's pretty good. Notice, make sure you know it says your opponent's card effects. So your card effects still affect it. So that comes up later with a different card. But that's really good. You just have a big boss that's unaffected. Before we didn't have a very good thing to go into, but when Eternity Code came out, they actually gave Marincess a pretty good link for just to kind of end on, to kind of base the whole strategy around, which we'll go over in a second. And then when you link summon a Marincess monster to the extra monster zone, you can equip up to 3 Marincess link monsters with different names from your graveyard to that monster. So that's how you can make it really big with the extra 600 attack. And then the only other Marincess card in the main deck is Marincess Wave. They have like 3 other traps, I think, but they're not very good. But this one is. So if you control a Marincess Link monster, you target a face-up monster your opponent controls and negate its effects until the end of the turn. So it's imperm, basically. Just you can't activate it from hand right away like imperm can. And then if you control Link 2 or higher Marincess, all face-up monsters you currently control are unaffected by your opponent's card effects. So it's not just Marincess. So if you have something else on the field, it will also be unaffected. And then finally, if you control a Link 3 or higher Marincess monster, you get to activate this from your hand. So that's pretty. At that point, it becomes kind of like Imperm, except you can have a monster on field. You just have to have a big Marincess on field. So that's it for the main deck. I'll just go over the extra deck ones when I get to the extra deck. The rest of the main deck is a bunch of hand traps. Mainly because our boss monster helps us draw during each standby phase. So you want to draw into an interruption, and you really want to draw into an interruption you can use right away. So that's why we're playing a bunch of hand traps. And in theory, you just need 1 to 2 cards to really do your play. So the rest of your hand can just be hand traps or traps. So we chose Ash Blossom, Ghost Spell, DD Crow, Effect Veiler. They're just all pretty generic. I would do Imperm, but the problem with Imperm is if you draw it during your opponent's standby phase, you'll have monsters on field. So you can't activate it like you can Effect Veiler. And then the other monsters we have, this guy, this Tenyi Spirit, he's a water level 4, so he helps make Bahamut Shark. He's just a water monster that helps you extend, because to get the really, really good play, you need like Blue Tang plus 1 extender. So that can be this, it can be the Tenyi here, it can be the Frog Engine. That gets you like the really, really good opening, and plus it helps you make Bahamut Shark, which this deck really loses hard in Nibiru. You can sometimes make Toad before doing your whole Marincess play, and this is one of the cards that helps you do that. Speaking of Nibiru, this is a weird card. I'm just trying it out. I think it's kind of fun. So you can discard this card in 1 water monster, and then you look at your opponent's hand, and you banish 1 card from their hand face up until the end phase. The other effect I'm not even going to read because it just doesn't care. It doesn't really matter. But this is basically our form of trying to play around Nibiru. As you can see, we have Exchange in the suggested cards. If you didn't want to play this, you could play Exchange instead. I just thought this was interesting because we have so many water monsters, and a lot of times we don't mind putting them in the graveyard. So this deck just really can't play through a Nibiru, so you need to combat it somehow. So we have this. And then lastly, for the monsters, we have just a little tiny Frog Engine, because all this deck is water, so you can summon Swap Frog a bunch. Making Toad is one of your ways to try and play around Nibiru. If you can set up your big Marincess boss monster with a Toad, that's really, really good. That's like the dream setup. It doesn't happen that often, but it can. So yeah, we just have 3 Swap and 1 Ronin. You really don't need that many because it's not really a frog deck. It's more just an engine to try and help you get water monsters on the field, and then occasionally you can make Toad. And then Signet Mining, Honorary Marincess card. You send 1 card from your hand to the graveyard, and then you add a level 4 or lower Cyberus monster. So this helps you search Blue Tang, Seahorse, any of the Marincesses you want. This will search it for you. And then the last spell is Fury of Kairyu-shin. I probably didn't say that right. So you add 1 Torrential Tribute from your deck to your hand. That's a pretty good trap right now. I don't know how dated this makes this video, but that's cool. Its other effect is if a water monster or monsters you control would be destroyed by card effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard instead. So that's really nice, because you notice how I mentioned this only makes us unaffected by our opponent's card effects? So if we Torrential Tribute, it will blow up our own stuff, even if they're unaffected with this effect. But if we have this, it's not going to happen. Also, this helps technically protect us from Ghost Ogre, because you can just do this first and then do your whole Marincess play, and they won't be able to Ghost Ogre your monsters on field, which is nice. And to go along with that, I put 2 Torrential Tributes. You could argue on like if you want to do 1 of this, 3 of this. I don't know. Well, this is just what I have so far at my lucky number 42 deck size. And yeah, that's just Torrential Tribute. Another thing you really need is Judgment, because there's just some things you just can't deal with. Because they could like Lightning Storm or something, get rid of the field spell, and then you're just sitting on a not unaffected boss monster. Also, Pankratops really hurts. This can technically stop that too. And then Judgment's just a really good card. It kind of conflicts with the whole strategy I was saying with the hand traps, but it's good to have some traps still too. This is really kind of a stunny deck, to be honest with you. And that's it for the main deck. The extra deck, I'll just start with the Link 1s and go up from there. So Marincess Sea Angel just takes a level 4 or lower Marincess monster, and it points left, which is kind of good sometimes, kind of not. Usually it's okay. And then what it does is when it's Link summoned, you just add the field spell. 1 Marincess spell from your deck to your hand. There currently is only 1 Marincess spell right now, and it's the field spell. If they ever make a really good non-field spell Marincess card, I guess this will search it. You can only Link summon it once per turn. And then Blue Slug's also really good. Same materials as Sea Angel, except this points down, which is really nice. So if it's link summoned, you can target one Marincess monster in your graveyard, except itself, and then add it to your hand. And then you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of the turn, except water monsters. And then you can only link summon this thing once per turn also. So the way this works is basically the most simplest play is you normal Seahorse, you make Blue Slug. Blue Slug will add the Seahorse back, and then Seahorse will special summon itself to the zone that Blue Slug points to, and then you link into Sea Angel, you get your field spell, and then you can kind of go from there. We'll get to that in a second. We have Marincess Crystal Heart. It just takes 2 water monsters, really good arrows, down left, down right. It has 0 attack, by the way. It's unaffected by your opponent's monster effects while it's in the extra monster zone, so I guess if they try and Nibiru you, this won't get Nibiru'd. Doesn't really matter. And then during the damage step, if this card battles an opponent's monster, that opponent's monster is unaffected by card effects except its own. When this card or your Marincess Link monster this card points to is targeted for attack, you can send one Marincess monster from your hand to the graveyard for that battle. Your monster cannot be destroyed by that battle, and you take no battle damage. I don't know why I read that effect, because it's never going to come up. This is just here to give ourselves the protection effect from the field spell. That's really all it is. Then we have Splash Mage is not a Marincess. It might as well be. It's a Link 2 Water Cybers monster. So you can target one Cybers monster in your graveyard and you special summon it in defense, but you negate its effect, and then for the rest of the turn you can only summon Cybers monsters. This is part of a play you can do to get into Transcode Talker into Access Code, because the next Link 2 we're going to go over locks you into waters, much like Blue Slug does. So it doesn't come up that often, but it's nice to have the option. And then next we have Coral Anemone, Marincess Coral Anemone. It just also takes 2 water monsters. It has a very similar effect to Splash Mage, but it's a little more restrictive, but also kind of just better for this deck anyways. So you can target one water monster with 1500 or less attack in your graveyard, and then you special summon it to the zone this card points to. And then for the rest of the turn you get locked into water monsters. Notice it doesn't say defense, so you can summon the Link monsters back if they're low enough attack, which is nice. You can summon the frogs back, which is nice. Doesn't specifically say Cybers or Marincess. And then the other effect that's actually really, really good, which you probably see this card a lot in like frog decks and stuff, but like this other effect's really good for the Marincess deck. If it's sent to the field or the grave, it doesn't have to be monster zone, so if it's equipped to something with the field spell, this effect will go off too. You can target one Marincess card in your graveyard, except itself, and add it to your hand. And you can only use each effect once per turn. So this helps you recycle like your blue slugs and stuff, because sometimes you will run out of blue slugs, and you need to put them back to do the combo like a 3rd or 4th time. And this really helps with that. I can also add back like Blue Tang and stuff, which is really nice. Next, we have the first non-water Link monster that I've shown off so far. Transcode Talker. He just takes 2+ effect monsters. When he's co-linked, it and the co-linked monster gain 500 attack, and your opponent can't target them with card effects, and then you can target a Link 3 or lower Cybers Link in your graveyard, special summon to a zone this card points to, and then you can't special summon monsters except Cybers the turn you use this effect. So like I said, this combos with Splash Mage into Access Code Talker, and it will give you an Access Code Talker with Link 3 used for the material, so he gets the plus 3000 attack, and it guarantees you at least a water and an earth in your graveyard, so you at least get to banish Pop 2, which is really nice. Whereas if you did it with just the waters, you only have 1. You just can't make him if you use Anemone or Blue Slug, but this is really more of a follow-up play. You're not trying to do this like going first anyways. And then the next Link 3 we have is Marincess Marbled Rock. This is what you end on if you have like the less good combo. So it just takes 2+ water monsters. Its zones are a little weird, but it's okay. You can target one Marincess card in your graveyard, except itself, add it to your hand. So as you can see, a lot of these things just recycle themselves. Or not themselves, but they recycle other things. And then you can only use this effect once per turn, and then when an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can send a Marincess monster from your hand to the graveyard for that battle. Monsters cannot be destroyed by battle, and you take no damage. This is not specific just to Marbled Rock, so if they try and attack over Totally Awesome, Marbled Rock can save it, which is pretty nice. This is an okay card. I'd honestly rather end on the Link 4s, but sometimes you can't make it to the Link 4s, so this is really the only option you have. And then next we have Access Code Talker. He's just, I don't need to explain him, he's really good. You can either do him with the Transcode Talker play, or if you have like a Marbled Rock that survives into your next turn, you have really easy to make him right there. So there he is. Then we have Marincess Wonderheart. This is the first of the two Link 4s. It's probably the worst of the two, but I kind of arguably the better one when in terms of like attacking. So it takes 2+ water monsters. It has really good arrows. And then once per battle, during damage calculation, if this battles a monster, you can special summon one of your Marincess monsters that's equipped to it. And then this card can't be destroyed by that battle, and you take no damage from that battle. Your opponent still takes damage from the battle. And then you equip that special summon monster during the end phase to this card. And then if this card in its owner's possession is destroyed by an opponent's card, you can special summon one Link 3 or lower Marincess monster from your graveyard. So you can bring back Marbled Rock to like keep kind of protecting yourself in battle. You can bring back an enemy, so if it leaves the field, you get to add something back. So that's pretty nice. It's not, you don't really want to end on this. It's really nice. You can actually OTK with this deck because of this thing attacking into a monster and then summoning like a Marbled Rock, which is pretty nice. And then this is basically what the whole deck's been built around at this point. This is why we're playing all the hand traps. Is Marincess Great Bubble Reef. So it takes 2+, just like the Wonderheart. Once per turn, during each standby phase, you can banish one water monster from your grave or face-up field to draw one card. So there you go. Standby phase, draw a card. We're trying to draw into one of these hand traps. And then every time a card is banished face up, this gains 600 attack for each until the end of the turn. So it starts off at 26. The field spell is going to make it really big, and then you're going to get 600 by doing its effect. So it's going to be like really, really, really big, and then every time something gets banished, it just gets bigger, which is really good, and it will be unaffected most likely because of the Battle Ocean. So if you sit on this and just have a bunch of hand traps and stuff, you're probably fine. And it has really good arrows too. And then its other effect is you can send one water monster from your hand to the graveyard. It can be any water monster, which is nice. And you special summon one of your banished Marincess monsters. So you could like banish a coral anemone with the effect to draw, and then just immediately send a water monster from your hand, bring the anemone back, and then use the anemone's effect, which is really nice. And then the last two monsters we have Bahamut Shark, 2 level 4 water monsters. He detaches basically to summon totally awesome, who just can negate anything by tributing an aqua monster. That's why he's here. We can make him both with the frogs or just with level 4 water monsters. So he's just really good. And then these are just all cards you could play if you wanted to. Silent Angler is a different level 4 water extender you could play. If you control a water monster, you can special summon from your hand, but you can't special summon monsters from your hand for the rest of the turn. He's plays a very similar role to this thing. You could throw in some more frogs if you wanted to. I wouldn't recommend it, but you could. This Scripton thing is a level 5 water Cyberse. You can summon it by banishing a Cyberse monster from your graveyard. And then if it's sent to graveyard as material for a link summon of a Cyberse monster, you can target one of your banished monsters and put it back in the deck. So, I mean, I guess that's cool. You can recycle swap frogs, or if you banish some Marincesses, that's kind of nice. I just didn't like him that much because you have to get a Cyberse in grave first and then banish it. Whereas, I don't know. You could throw him in there if you wanted to. Another thing you could play is Parallel Exceed, and I would recommend comboing it with Rafflesia and Gravedigger's Trap Hole. Once again, to try and play around Nibiru. The only problem with this is your hand has to be already pretty good to do this, because you have to be able to combo without using Blue Slug's effect. Because once you use Blue Slug's effect, you can't summon the Exceed, you can't summon the Rafflesia. So it's I tried it for a long time. I don't think it's that great. I ended up just taking out for this thing. I think you're better off playing this or Exchange if you're really worried about Nibiru. But it is an option you can do. Same thing, you could put Abyss Dweller in here if you want to take some stuff out. It's a water monster, so if you get locked into water, it doesn't really matter. And Shooting Code Talker he's a water link monster. He's pretty good, Cybers. You can make him pretty easily. I already kind of talked about Exchange. As you can see, there's no real back row removal in this deck, so you could very easily find room for Harpy's Feather Duster or Cosmic Cyclone. You could do Twin Twister. I wouldn't recommend it, though, because you already have a card that sends a card to grave, so you don't really want to lose too much stuff in your hand, including this thing. This thing can do that, too, so I'd recommend one of these two. And then there's some draw cards you could do. Like, you could do Desires. You could probably get away with it. Yeah, you have the one field spell, but you can get it pretty early and then Desires. And then if you're just really desperate, you can use Paw Desires. So you could consider this. I don't know. If you really wanted to. You could technically Pot of Avarice too if you really wanted to. I could see you putting a bunch of monsters in grave to do this, but I don't know if it's the most reliable. I put Floodgate Trap Hole. That kind of goes with the whole Rafflesia thing. Because you can play like one Grave Diggers, one Floodgate, or just play two Grave Diggers. It's up to you. And then Solemn Strike, you could just play this. This is just another good trap. You could also play any other hand traps you want. You could play Ghost Ogre, Skullmeister, any of those things. Though I just wouldn't recommend Imperm necessarily, unless you know you're going second. Maybe side Imperm. But yeah, there it is. I'll show you a quick combo, and then that will be it. And hopefully you guys will enjoy seeing it in the next Scoop Phase episode. We'll see if Ryan can pronounce these names better than I can. Goodbye, everybody. Okay, we have the most simplest combo here. We're going to do this, and then we're going to do a combo to hopefully end on the Link 4. So as you can see, the hand is just all hand traps, but we have this, so we're technically fine. So you just go Blue Tang. This is where you want to send, where is she? You want to send Seahorse. Now, if you already have Seahorse in your hand, you send Mandarin, which we'll show you in a second after this combo. And then from here, you just make Blue Slug. So you can choose to do Blue Tang right here if you want, or you can wait till a little later until after you search the field spell to kind of like thin the deck out, I guess. But we're just going to do this now. So we're just going to add Seahorse back. Make sure you add Seahorse. And then we're going to do Blue Tang. And then it doesn't really matter what we excavate here. Yeah, in my experience, it usually misses. But, I mean, it's nice to have the option, I guess. And then from here, we haven't used her special summon effect of Seahorse. We're going to special summon right here. And then from there, we can go Sea Angel. Get our field spell. And then from here, we can go Anemone. And Anemone can just, once again, doesn't really matter. This is where if you didn't already use Blue Tang's Excavate effect, you could do it right here. And in that way, you might get something since the Battle Ocean's been thinned out of the deck. And then if you want to, you can activate. I'm going to just activate it just so we can make our monster as big as possible. But it's not going to be unaffected, unfortunately. So we can only really do Marbled Rock here. If you're worried about Ghost Ogre, just chain it this way, where you do this, and then an enemy goes off. And here you just add Blue Tang back to your hand. And then you just equip all three of these Link monsters. And then, like I said in the deck profile, it's really cool. If they do end up killing the Marbled Rock, the enemy will go off, because it just says Field. It doesn't say Monster Zone. So that's really nice. And then we can use Marbled Rock's effect again. Add Seahorse back. So now next turn we have the whole Link 4 play enabled for us because we have Blue Tang and Seahorse. Unless, of course, we have to send one of these to protect the Marbled Rock. But even if we do, if the Marbled Rock survives into the next turn, we have Access Code Talker or one of our Link 4s. So there you have it. And then we get stuff back with an enemy too if like this dies. So that's nice too. So I'll show you the next combo, which is the more exciting one, I think. Okay, so we have the kind of better combo. This is what you really want. You want Blue Tang plus any one of these. So it could be Blue Tang plus Seahorse, or Blue Tang plus Mandarin, or Blue Tang plus this one. I'm going to pretend it's Blue Tang plus Seahorse. That's the most simple one. So just ignore these. We're not going to use any of these. So what you do is you do Blue Tang, and you want to send whichever one you don't already have. So if you have Seahorse, you send Mandarin. If you have Mandarin, you send Seahorse. We're going to pretend we have only Seahorse, so we're going to send Mandarin. And then from here, we're going to go Blue Slug. So this is actually where if you were playing the Parallel Exceed, this is the hand where you could do it, because you actually don't need the Blue Slug's effect unless you have to send Seahorse. If you have Blue Tang plus Seahorse, the Parallel Exceed play works. If you don't, then it doesn't work. Anyways, I'm actually not going to use Blue Slug's effect, and I'm not going to use Blue Tang's effect. I'm just going to use none of them. And from here, we're going to special summon Seahorse. And then now we're going to make Sea Angel. And this is what I was talking about in the first combo, is you can technically thin the deck a little bit before using Blue Tang's effect. Because from here, we're going to go Mandarin. because we have 2 Marincesses and we have a open link arrow. So we're going to summon Mandarin right here. And from there, you're going to do Anemone with Mandarin, and I like to do Sea Angel. You'll see why in a second. So then we're going to do Anemone, and then this is where I'll get the Blue Tang back since I haven't used its effect yet. Right there. And then I like to make Crystal Heart. If they were going to Nibiru you, they would have already, I'm sure. But just in case, I guess you can stick this thing here, and if they Nibiru you, you keep this. But let's see if we get anything. Nope. Oh well. Make sure you activate this, or this is going to be kind of for nothing. So from here, we just make either Marbled Rock, I guess, Wonder Heart, but we're just going to make Bubble Reef. So now, if you want to, like with the first one, if you want to avoid Ghost Ogre on your field spell, just chain it this way. And just add back whichever one you want more. I'm just going to add Blue Tang back. And then I like to equip an enemy, and I like to equip Crystal Heart because a lot of people don't read this, and they think the Crystal Heart is what's giving it the immunity, so they like try and Cosmic Cyclone this and not the field spell. So I just like to kind of do that to kind of mess with them a little bit. And then I like to do Blue Slug. And that's pretty much it. You have whatever else is in your hand, and then when you go to your opponent's turn, this goes off. I can't tell you how many people have ashed this for some reason. It won't work because unaffected. And then I like to just banish the Sea Angel because I can bring it back and it has kind of nice zones for that. And oh look, I didn't plan this, but this is literally the perfect card to draw if you don't already have it, because you can activate it from hand. It'll make everything unaffected, so even if they get rid of the field spell, you can still make this unaffected. And it's just another interruption. So this thing's at 52. Every time something gets banished this turn, it's just going to get bigger. So that's nice. It's not the most solid strategy, but you can see it can do something. So yeah, that's it for the combo. There's not really anything else to show. I mean, I could show the Toad plays, but that just takes a really, really good hand, and it's not usually realistic to make Toad plus this. But yeah, there you guys go. I hope you enjoy the Scoop Phase episode with this, and I will see you next time. Like, comment, subscribe, or all that stuff, whatever. I'm scooping now. Goodbye.